And today's guest on the Financial Planner Live podcast is Josie Freeman from Foster Denovo. This is a fantastic episode, and I'll tell you why, because Josie's had 7 promotions in 8 years at Foster Denovo, and she breaks down her career journey for you today to fully understand what she did in each and every role. We talk about the power of mentorship, why that was so important in her career, the training, the development that she has received, and the ability to progress her career through a clear career development framework, and why that is super important. You are going to love this episode if you're an entry-level person in financial planning. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Financial Planner Live podcast on this Foster Denovo special. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. You're very pregnant.
I am very pregnant. Yes. Yeah, they've snuck this in just before my mat leave is due to start. It was good of them to do that.
Very good. Very good. Well, fantastic. Well, I'm really pleased you're here today. Your journey is 8 promotions in 7 years at Foster Denovo. I've not heard of anybody have 8 promotions in 7 years in any company, let alone within financial planning. So really interested to hear about your journey today. But let's just set the scene first of all. You joined Foster Denovo from financial planning. What was your background?
No, so I was fresh out of uni. I'd been working at Waitrose in the supermarket, just on the front desk and cashier during uni, and sort of just finished and didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just sort of stayed there and ended up going full time. And then actually I got into it by a complete fluke. It was actually such a strange circumstance. Someone had hit my car and I was in this Jag thing. It was massive. It was brand new and I was 21 driving this Jag. And my friend was like, oh, my mum's got this job. Why don't you go and talk to her? So I pull up outside her house in this Jag and I'm like, this is just the most bizarre thing that's ever happened. And she starts talking to me about this job that she's got that's in pensions. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. She starts talking to me about letters of authority, all that sort of side. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I mean, it's probably better than what I'm doing now. So I sort of just went for it and ended up going in at an entry-level administrator role with no previous experience.
Oh, so fantastic. So your first, from Waitrose into Foster Denovo.
Yeah, I mean, my degree's in history as well. So it's completely not related. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just enjoyed history, thought it's quite, you can apply it across a lot of subjects and it's quite detailed, case study oriented. So that's why I picked that. But
isn't it funny? We often fall into companies, we fall into jobs, and you go to university with probably all the best intentions of doing a degree that you think is then going to lead you into the job that you're meant to have. And the degree is part of it, but actually it's a chance encounter. It's somebody offering you an interview that you've never heard of.
Massive, yeah. It's that sliding doors moment, isn't it? I did actually have a place to do my GED and go into law and go that side. And I was sort of looking to that thinking, well, where do I go? And sort of ended up here.
Never heard of financial service. Financial planning is not something that we just talk about.
No, not at all. No. I don't remember anyone mentioning it at school. I mean, my parents are not the best with money. So that's not even, that money conversation makes me uncomfortable. That's how I was brought up. So, I didn't know anything about it. And that was the first time I'd heard.
Like many of us, conversations about money do make us feel uncomfortable. And that's such a huge subject, that financial education. I'm loving all the financial coaches you're seeing on Instagram and TikTok now, because they are really targeting those types of money beliefs, aren't they?
It's massive because it just doesn't exist in schools. You come out of school, you do your A levels, you're 18, you can get a credit card. What's an APR? No one knows. But now TikTok, Instagram's really changing that. I think it's so important to highlight that they can do that.
Are you seeing it a lot when you go online?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am an avid TikTok user.
Are you?
I think it's so useful, but my TikTok looks very different from a 12-year-old's TikTok. Mine's like really boring, cooking, all that sort of side. But yeah, it is. There's a lot of mortgage rates, things like that you can learn, snippets and videos. It's so useful.
Yeah, fantastic. So just tell us a little bit about that entry-level point then. So you've come in, no experience, you've joined Foster Denovo, you've moved into administration. Just tell us about that first year then, because we're talking about 8 promotions here in 7 years. Let's take the listeners on a journey and what it's been like to progress through the company, because those listening are probably craving a company where they can push forward with their career. And it sounds like this is a great place to do it. So you started off with administration. Tell us about what you were doing.
Yeah, so I started off as our entry level, which is called a client experience administrator,
Yep.
And that's our entry level. So it's sort of doing what we call the front end of the business, gathering the information for clients, onboarding them into our systems, that sort of back office role, liaising with providers, that sort of side. I ended up doing that, I think, for 6 months before I was promoted into our client experience executive, which is a lot more client facing, a lot more application sides, a bit more technical knowledge. So as you sort of go through, you build up your technical knowledge as you go, which when I arrived, I didn't have at all.
Let me stop you there then. So going from that entry level administrative position, did you feel based on your level of skills, experience, knowledge, did you think it was a great grounding for you?
Yeah, definitely. It gave me all the basics. So that really helped to sort of get me in my set. I took the time to learn, there was people around me that I could look at and take that sort of level of experience from. So that was really invaluable.
And then you moved on up into the what was the next role?
It's client experience executive. So it's sort of the one up for that. So we have sort of like a clear track to run on in terms of our promotion and where that goes.
Okay, cool. So just tell us a little bit about that position then. What's the difference then? Why was that a promotion or a natural?
So you have a lot more client contact, which obviously when you're new into the business, it's quite intimidating, especially as a millennial who doesn't answer the phone. So that was a learning curve. So, getting to talk to clients and doing that side of it, you have a bit more technical knowledge. You're expected to know a bit more, challenge the providers a bit more, push through and things like that. So it's sort of that next level on.
So that administrative role that you looked at for, you're pretty much looking at the documents, going through it, making
processing
it.
Processing it. And now it's like a depth of knowledge that you're understanding and then doing something with it. You're applying it.
Talk to me about those challenges in that next role then, the experience type position. What was the challenges you came up against? You mentioned you millennial, don't like picking up the phone.
Yeah, not my favorite. No. So talking to clients, but actually it was really lovely. Like you sort of think, oh my God, these people are paying for a service and there's an expectation there to deliver. But actually, you form relationships with them. And I had people come to me, the next year go, I spoke to that bloke last year. Can you get me back in touch? I want to do this. It's like that bloke you met 3 times. You actually only spoke to me on the phone, okay, for 6 months, sort of once a week. But you still build that relationship with the client. So it allows you to do that, which is actually really nice.
Yeah, it's a nice grounding, isn't it? It kind of makes the role more real and the job that you're doing, instead of it just being processing documents over and over again, which, come on, it can be quite boring, right?
Yeah.
It gives you that ability then to put a name, a face to a document or to a life. The pension transfer form that you might be processing is actually impacting somebody's life. So it kind of brings it to life then, doesn't it? What about the product providers? Was that a difficult transition? Did you put those types of people up on the pedestal? Did you be a bit sort of anxious about dealing with them?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you come in and you don't have the knowledge, I was using words that I didn't really know. They're on top of the piece of paper that was given in front of me. If I asked them a question, they push back. I was like, oh, do I know how to answer that? I'm not sure. But you start to really learn that they're almost the same as you. It's sort of an entry level position a lot of the time their side, and you can actually learn from each other at the same time.
When I worked for Aviva, I can't remember how old I was now, in my 20s. So I was on the customer service side, but we used to have financial advisors call us up. And I used to find them really intimidating because they were like, where's my letter of authorities and everything. They just wanted information. Oh my God, I used to be freaked out by the financial advisors. You kind of put them on a pedestal, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
And I moved them in. When I moved then into recruitment, and I started off doing like customer advisors in banks or administrators and things like that. I didn't want to deal with a financial advisor because I always felt that they, again, were on a bit of a pedestal. But it's quite interesting though, isn't it? And obviously now you work in an environment where you're surrounded by financial planners. They're not what you think, right?
No, they're definitely not. But we never really had that because our financial advisors are so willing to give you their time and share their experience. At the end of the day, we're all putting the client at the heart of what we do. So we're all trying to get to the same result. So if you're better equipped to deal with that, then it's going to help them and their client at the end of the day.
That transition then from that admin then to the experience role, what do you think is essential to make sure that you do make that transition? If someone's sat in an admin role right now and they're wanting to kind of make sure that they're progressing their career, what's the most important thing that they look at in respect to their own skill set to start making that move along into the next role?
It's definitely, a range of them. Time management's massive one, everywhere you go, but it's taking the opportunity to learn what's going on around you, observing, which post-COVID can be quite difficult if you've got a hybrid model or something like that. But it really is learning from those around you, hearing those conversations, those difficult conversations that you think, oh, would I be able to deal with that? How would I have dealt with that? And just sort of using that to better develop yourself.
Did you find that you were exposed to learning and development very quickly?
Yeah, I think so. I'm quite an ambitious person anyway. Like I said, when I was at Waitrose, I actually got offered if I wanted to do the management course there because I love to learn. I think one of the things when I left uni, I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to learn anything anymore. And that frightened the hell out of me. I didn't realise there is so much more that you can get from the industry that you're in.
When did you start thinking about qualifications within financial planning?
So when I went down the paraplanning route was more when I moved towards those. So I had no idea what a paraplanner was. I mean, I think that's one of the titles that you're like, what's that? I mean, you can't even select it if you're taking out car insurance. And it's not available
it's funny.
Half the time.
Like I remember watching a video and someone went out with, I think it was an Australian video, and someone went out and should do it in the UK, asking people what they thought a paraplanner was. And some of the responses are so funny. No one had a clue what a paraplanner was. No one does. So let's just take the listeners on a bit of a journey, because that client experience role, we started dealing with product providers, started getting introduced to the clients. What was next after that role?
So that was where I went down the paraplanning route. Right. And that's the thing, is that there was more I could have done in admin. You know, we have more roles that we go seniors, we go to client relationship managers, and it develops on further there. But at that point, I decided that I was going to look down the paraplanning route. That's really what I was interested in my next step to be, because I enjoyed the technical knowledge side, but also the client side, because I think that's a lot about paraplanners, is that everyone thinks it's just research and report writing, when actually there is still a client there, and you know, you're understanding their situations and doing what's right for them. So I found that really interesting. I
do like the fact that there's a vertical there for administration. So if it's an area that you really enjoy, there are still progressive steps that you can move on up into in a career framework.
Definitely. We have people that just want to do admin. Yeah. You know, that is what they want to do. But there is so many levels to go there, and other ways you can go. And we have a lot of, you know, you can go into other departments. It doesn't have to be, you know, one track. You go here, you do this. That's not how we work. You know, we have people that go across and do a sidestep and they go compliance, or they go to marketing, or, you know, so there's a lot of opportunity to move across the business and cross-train.
Okay, so that client experience then, you then saw power planning as the option. So the company supported you in your move then to move into power planning. Now, from the outside looking into power planning, how did you understand what the role was before you made that move and made sure it was the right move for you?
So in my administration role in the client experience executive, we were quite involved with the power planners. We'd gather the information for them to be able to write the report. So we have quite close connection with them because they are in-house. So you'd be dealing with them, you know, on a daily basis, really, discussing cases, making sure you've got the right information for them. And that's when I sort of sparked and was like, oh, how do you know? How do you know you need this information? Because I don't know that yet. And sort of took it from there. We had a team of paraplanners up in London. I thought, that looks quite good. I'll give that a go.
Were you invited over into the power planning team to sort of observe it and get stuck in and understand different things of what they're doing?
Yeah, it's definitely not separate. It's obviously a separate team, but we would come together quite a lot because it helps. It moves the cases on a lot quicker when you have those open conversations, not just an email flying around and things like that. You know, we would go there and we would sit with them. I've got this case, this client, what do you need? What can I do? How can I help you? And that was sort of how we went from there.
Do you think you could have started the qualifications? So is that the point where you started doing qualifications?
Yes. So I started qualifications going straight into the level 4, but there is a level 3, which you can do. There's sort of lots of different routes, there's different bodies and things like that. So we looked at the CII. That's how I went across that. So we have people that actually do the level 3 first because it gives you more of a foundation level before you move on to the level 4. But I found that just with the knowledge I'd sort of gathered on the job, that I was comfortable to go into the level 4 and knew I was ready to go there.
Well, that's really interesting. So, like a qualification often doesn't teach us actually what the job does.
No.
I think that massively happens in financial planning. Like people become level 4 qualified. It doesn't teach you how to be a financial planner, sitting in front of people, having the skill set.
Yeah, it definitely can feel like a bit of a box tick. I mean, it's a multiple choice question. Not saying it's not hard, because it is. It definitely is. But it's multiple choice questions, but it's the real world applications that you don't get from that. And that's when we'll probably talk about a bit later, when I moved into management and I was hiring people, I was looking for people who had something about them, who had done the job for a while, had gone through the different roles and had that experience. I think that's really invaluable.
Okay. Let's go back to this power planner role then. So, because I'm a firm believer that we label power planning or power planners, chuck everybody under one name, and that's it. Are there layers? Are there levels to power planning?
We love a layer. We got all the cake layers going on here. So our first layer, our entry level there, is a trainee power planner. So that's someone who's probably just starting off on their exam journey, doesn't have any yet, starts to do a lot of the research side, maybe some basic reports, sort of bed and ISAs, that entry level sort of reporting. So they learn that, and it's mainly assisting the other power planners in their research and that side and gaining experience there.
For those who don't know then, at that level of trainee, so I love that, you're getting involved in like some of the ISAs, some of the work, you're supporting the power planners. So they're kind of coaching you as you're doing some of those tasks that they aren't able to do or don't have perhaps the time to do. So they pass smaller tasks to you, more manageable tasks based on your level of experience, and kind of drip feed you stuff. Yeah,
definitely. But also to train you at the same time. It's like sometimes if, they were doing something on a case and they were like, actually, this is great. Come on, have a look at this. And then suddenly you're taking over that section for everyone else because they've just taken the time to show you how to do it. And there's quite a lot of that happens.
Each time you got a promotion, that's 3, right? Each time you got one, did you feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah? You felt like you were progressing?
Yeah. I love a title change. There's nothing better than when you come in and you change your signature and your job title and you get to change it. I love that.
There's an element of prestige there, isn't there, that humans look for? It's that... Maybe it is that feeling of like tribal, where are we in the tribe and how are we seen by others?
Yeah.
And I think a title can be very important to people. And I think, again, bringing these different titles into career frameworks does motivate people that are driven by the element of prestige, the title. And I think it's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great because it also indicates and shows somebody. It's almost like a badge, isn't it? It's like
it's like progression, isn't it?
It's progression.
Like the Great Gatsby. He always says, "I've got to go like this. I've got to keep going up."
Yeah,
that's what it is. We have that. A lot of us have that drive. That means we want to go up. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean I want to be here tomorrow and earning 50 grand more. It's I've got to keep moving forward.
It's a journey, isn't it? And you've got to break that journey down into bite-sized, manageable chunks. And I think breaking down roles in a career framework is an important way of doing that. It keeps you motivated. You get those rewards. Your career framework then, was it clearly defining competencies that you needed to hit, things you needed to do to be able to evidence that you're ready for the next stage?
Yeah, so we have what we call personal development plans. Love a little acronym, so it's a PDP. And what you do is you sort of set that out. So in 3 months' time, where do I see myself? In 6 months, in a year, in 5 years, and you break it down. And then you also look at the job description for the next role and go, okay, so what do I not have? On our job descriptions, we have a essential side and a desired side. Would be nice if you had these, but the essential side, you're looking down and going, okay, where am I missing? On the desired side, well, actually, I might have that already, and how can I get there? So it is really a clear track to run on that you can pick those elements out.
Did you ever feel like you were held back, or were you able to evidence those competencies to be able to say, look, I am achieving these things, I am hitting these things, can I be considered for a promotion?
Yeah, I never felt held back. I always felt like there was always someone there to fight my corner as well as I could. But it's also about, fighting your own corner. Yeah. No one's going to back you more than you. So, I had a little folder for things when someone sent me feedback. Boom, that's in there. I'll be using that. And it's using on those things. I'd evidence it. I'd have a spreadsheet with things that I'd completed and checked off. So if you go in with the evidence, it can't be disputed.
Did that motivate you as well personally?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And again, it's part of that journey. That's again, compartmentalizing it, seeing that next step, ticking something off, it's gone green on a spreadsheet, satisfying. Might be the power planner in me, but.
No, I love it. It's great. So you started off in power plan, trainee power planner, and then you moved on into?
So a junior paraplanner is our next one up.
Yeah.
So that's when you've got a few more exams under your belt. You start writing a few more reports, start to move into the transfer, maybe sort of an investment transfer rather than the pension transfer. So it's just that another level of experience.
Was there a longer gap between those two roles?
No, those ones were pretty quick. Yeah.
Pretty quick, was it? Because you've obviously got to achieve your qualifications. Did having to achieve qualifications a certain amount of how many qualifications did you have to achieve?
So it's 6. I managed to do 3 in 6 months, which was to get to the junior, which was a lot, doing one every other month. But no, I was motivated to do it. I was also given the time to do it, to study. If there wasn't something in, I could take that time to study. If we just had a bit of a lull, or someone would go sit with so-and-so, they've just had a look at, something here that could really help you, and you can apply it to your exam. So that really helped as well.
You did 3 in 6 months, did you?
Yeah.
Were they tough?
They are tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are tough. And you do have to dedicate yourself to them. There's lots of resources though, just in terms of the governing bodies. They offer a lot of resources. But yeah, it is tough. You do have to apply yourself to it. But I do think doing it on the job helps. I don't think I could have sat those as an administrator because I just wouldn't have had that level of technical knowledge.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because lots of people look at the role of financial planner and put it on quite a pedestal, and they work towards their level 4 qualifications before even entering into the financial planning profession. Look, at the end of the day, they're qualifications. Great to get them under your belt. Be lovely to see them in more universities, for example.
Yeah.
Or at least more of the degree qualification towards their points when it comes to becoming level 4 qualified. And it's definitely worth getting them under your belt, because if your end goal is to be a financial planner or a paraplanner, it's good to get those qualifications. But in your experience, doing it on the job against the thought of doing it in your bedroom without any experience, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's possible. I think it's harder. I definitely think that when you're doing it and seeing it, you're putting it into practice, that allows it to go in. When you're sitting there just scrolling through multiple choice questions, like studying for your theory test, isn't it? Yeah. You do your theory test alongside doing your practical test. And that's what I think works best with the exams. Personally, for me, I know everyone's not like that, but that's what I definitely found.
So how many years are you in now, as in at this role on your journey that we're talking about? So you'd have been how many years into your career at Foster Denovo?
I think I would be at junior paraplanner probably 2 years in.
So 2 years?
2.5 years, yeah.
So from Waitrose to junior paraplanner in 2 years, qualifications under your belt, levels of experience. Mm-hmm. Junior paraplanner, tell me a little bit about that, around sort of the difference between junior paraplanner and trainee.
So it's just a bit more complex reporting side. So you'd get a bit more involved in writing your own reports now, probably not doing as much research for other people because you're starting to write them. Not complex, your pension transfers that are a bit more complex, require a bit more research, a bit more compliance based, but still writing a lot more of those.
Fantastic. How many people were you supporting in that situation? Were you supporting paraplanners? Were you supporting financial planners? Was it both?
It's both. So I worked in a team, we call them like sort of a pod. So it's a pod of advisors who have their own client banks, and I was supporting 3 advisors at that time, which was quite nice.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because in that role, not only are you looking after the clients, you're also looking after the partners. So for you've got 2 stakeholders almost.
Yeah, that's what it is. At Foster Denovo, you've got 2 sets of clients. You've got the client who is paying for a service, and also the partner or advisors who are also paying for a service. So it's a balancing act. You're trying to balance it all, which is also a great skill to have as well.
At that point, were you starting to build relationships with those financial planners? Were you starting to get sort of understand what they do, how they do it, the nuances of advice, the winning the client, how important the relationship was? Yeah,
massively. Just putting that, it's not a piece of paper anymore. This is a real live client at the heart of it. And I did have one advisor who would take me along to some of his meetings just so I could sort of get a clearer picture when I was writing a report. And it really does bring it to life when you've got a client who's sitting in front of you explaining their situation and that they've worked for 40 years and now they're ready to get out. How do they do that? It really puts that into perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? Because you look at the outsourced power planners and you can imagine that we're working with multiple different clients, and they're not multiple different clients of theirs would be multiple different financial planning firms. And I guess I wonder if in an outsourced power planning role, that's not to poo-poo it because it's a fantastic service and there's some great companies out there. I've had them on the podcast, brilliant stuff. But it does kind of perhaps remove you maybe from the process, unless it's like video based and you're jumping on calls on video based side of it to be client facing. I don't know. Do you feel that by sitting in front of the client at that stage that you started to develop the understanding of the client, but also the personality of the advisor to be able to match
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, you have some advisors who are very particular and want things done in a certain way, and you almost can't understand why that is the case. But then when you're sat in front of a client, it gives you so much respect for what they do. I mean, I sat in one meeting that I was sweating throughout. It was one of those uncomfortable ones, but the financial planner was amazing, you know, and just took it all in his stride, you know, could answer then and there. And I was sat there the whole time like, oh my God, thank God that's not me. And that's always been my sort of input, but it was amazing to see. And it gives you a level of respect for what they do. You know, some people think it's just a sales role, they're out there and they're selling. Well, not really, you know, that client relationship is so important. So
great. So it gave you a kind of level of respect for what they actually do. Do you sometimes feel pressure from financial planners? Like, how do you manage the expectation of financial planners? Do you feel you have to do that?
Well, we have sort of, you know, in a more junior level, you're not expected to do that because we have our team leaders, we have our managers who do a bit more of that. But I still think it's a really important skill to learn. So the quicker you start doing it, you know, the easier it is. But it starts as well, you know, if you manage the financial planner's expectations, that's not enough. Like we said, we've got 2 clients. You need the financial planner to manage the client's expectation. And that's where it is that it needs to make sure it translates through the process.
I think the junior exposure to being in meetings is valuable. It's huge, you know, and I think the earlier you can get a power planner into a client meeting or an administrator, the better, because they're going to get a feel for the full journey, aren't they? They understand it in more detail, a newfound respect, as you put it, to what they have to do and how they do it, and how you approach the work that you do. Very, very important. There's this kind of what I call the mushroom, feed them shit and keep them in the dark mentality, which often happens in things like administration. You know, you're over here and we're over here. You know, you're the power planner, you're the administrator, and we're the financial planner, and we'll keep it that way. And it's just like,
we don't like to stay in a lane.
No.
We like to blur them over. And, you know, everyone can help everyone. You know, the power planner has skill sets that the financial planner doesn't have. You know, like you said, some of them have gone through the roles and they have that level of experience, but some of them haven't. You know, they've taken their exams, they've gone straight into a financial planner.
Yes.
You know, they don't know the back office system, or they don't have that extra level of technical knowledge of a defined benefit arrangement that they might not come across very often. And that's the thing, it's exposure and it's what you see. So that's really important. So that's why I feel like it works hand in hand and you can help.
So you're in that junior role, you're starting getting exposed to the client meeting, seeing the financial planners doing what they're doing. You must be pumped. Next step, financial planner, client facing.
Absolutely not. No, definitely not.
Right.
And that wasn't for me. I was very much in the power planning role. I really saw the value in that and felt like that was my part to play and that's where I wanted to stay. I also enjoyed the compliance side, which you get a bit more on the power planning element. So I really enjoyed that. So no, it was definitely power planning all the way for me.
So more interested in the technical side, more interested in what, the problem solving side than what was it about the client facing side that put you off the most then?
I think it goes back to my millennial needs of not wanting to, you know, you knew with power planning what you were getting. It's the unexpected when you're sat in front of a client and what they could throw out. I found that quite worrying.
Right.
But I think as well, like I felt like I was getting that client relationship side from assisting the financial planner that I almost didn't have that need to fill it by who's sitting in front of my own client and problem solving.
I like the idea as well. It's like a control thing, isn't it? You don't know what questions they're going to ask you and how they're going to ask you and if you answer it the right way or the wrong way. I suppose when you're sitting there and you've got a rule book and you kind of heard it over and over again, you're kind of picking out all these different things and going, yeah, that's right, or that's wrong, or I think about it that way, or I'll explain it this way. So you are reflecting more, aren't you? So it's observation, it's reflecting, and then trying to articulate it in a way that person, then when they receive it, is the best fact find or the best report back, so that person goes, yeah, great, yeah, that person really, really got me.
Yeah.
And that's valuable, right? Because
massively.
not a lot of planners, not a lot of financial advisors enjoy administration.
No.
Like some of them might find it really, really hard. Like the thought for me of having to write an email sometimes, like, oh my God, I'd rather pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But for somebody like yourself, it's like, no, I would prefer to be the person who gets it technically right, understand all the technicalities of it, and have that as my skill set and my value. I like that. So you kind of very quickly established that. Can I ask you though, have you ruled it out completely?
Yeah, I have now.
You have, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I definitely have now. I don't. It's definitely not for me. But I think is you almost think when you come into the business that okay, I'll do admin. Yes, I'll do the power planning side, and okay, I'll need to be a financial planner. But I don't feel like that because there's so many other places to go. Fantastic.
All right, so junior power planner role. How long were you in that position for?
Oh, I think 6 months I was in that one. And I was promoted to a power planner. And I wasn't in that one very long because, I sort of moved to doing my own stuff. I was actually the sole power planner for those 3 people that I'd supported originally.
Right.
And then COVID hit.
Right.
And we needed someone to step up and manage the team. So I fell into a team leader role after that point because, we were amazing at getting into working from home. Our IT team are ridiculous. It was all sorted. We packed up one day and were like, okay, take a few files, get things scanned in. We stayed a bit later. It was like, yeah, that'll be fine. We'll be back in like a couple of weeks. And that wasn't the case. We had to learn to adapt to working fully from the office, now to working fully remote. So that was quite a lot. So I took on managing the team to keep us all together and make sure we were all communicating to keep everything flowing and the business going through.
So power planner manager?
So it was a team leader role, but I was actually managing power planners and administrators at the time.
Again, the opportunities to progress based on skill set. You were offered a role at Waitrose as a manager, right? And did you always have it in the back of your mind that management was the route for you as well? No. Okay.
I've never really thought about where I wanted to go or had that mapped out.
Okay. So how was it identified that you would make a good manager?
I think just because I had done both those roles as well, I think that really helps, is that I had the on-job experience of understanding that. I'm really keen to develop people. So as I move through being developed by others, I was keen to develop those below me and make sure that they moved on as well, which is very important in a manager, I think. So yeah, I think that's what was sort of identified.
When you're in that manager role, what was the toughest part of being a manager? Because I've been a manager and I didn't really enjoy it. I struggle with managing people. I struggle to manage myself. But managing others, I found really difficult. Did you find it difficult, or did you find it really interesting? What was your take on being a manager? Was it a baptism of fire?
It was, because it was COVID. And, it was like, not only are you just learning how to be a manager, you're learning how to do that with the rest of us who have managed for 30 years online and how you would do that. So that was definitely a challenge, but I loved it. I'd gone from saying I wasn't really a people person and I didn't really want to do that side, the client side and all of that, to actually, I really like this side. And, everyone can work together and recognise people's strengths to come together to get the job done in the best way.
So from admin to manager, how many years was that?
I think that was 4 years, 3 years. 3
years. Again, a really quick career progression into manager, going through your qualifications, power planning experience into managing a team. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Any mentorship along the way?
Yeah, I definitely had them at sort of every step. So like I said, I had a few advisors who really helped me, took me to client meetings as a junior, things like that. I also had one lady who was absolutely amazing when I first started out, who taught me everything I knew. She was at the other end of her career. She sort of had her career and was taking this job to sort of go towards, partial retirement, slowing down, that sort of side of things. And she was, my strength and stay, as Your Majesty would say. But she just was, she was calm, collected. Every time you had that difficult conversation, that's what I was listening to. That's the person I was listening to in the office. How's she going to deal with this? What's she going to say? And she was unbelievable. And I really respected her for that.
That's beautiful. So those observations where you've been mentored really well, you've learned from that mentor.
Yeah.
Do you find that you now mentor others in the same way?
I try to, definitely, because it was, I think it's the biggest part of my journey. Without these people who gave up their time to show me how to do it, I wouldn't be where I am at all.
Yeah.
The technical side, the technical knowledge, the advisors that took me to a meeting and explained who I was as I sat there with clients, giving up their personal information. You have to ask permission for that. There was a lot of people that really helped me to do that.
I think what's really important is when somebody gives you time and mentors you and is you have to give that back. It's very difficult to not give it back to somebody else when someone's giving you so much time. And I think that is the circle of development, because you get mentored, you learn, you mentor someone else, you learn again. Because how you deliver training, how you deliver coaching is so different to taking it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want to move on, I need someone to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's a lot how we work as well. It's like, I'll show you, because then you can come in and do what I need you to do so I can go on. It's also that side. So it's really rewarding for the other person. And it means that you get to progress as well. So it's really valuable to do it that way.
So COVID hit, manager role. Then what happened?
So then we grew as a team. COVID didn't slow us down.
Yeah.
We expanded. We ended up with a lot more clients. We were really busy hitting targets, which was amazing. Didn't have time to think about what was going on, which was really nice. So, we had that sense of a team. So we really grew. So I was hiring people to take on, because at the start I was still doing the power planning as well as a team leader role,
right,
which was quite difficult to do. A hybrid role, that can be quite difficult to make sure you're spreading your time in the correct way, especially when there's other people who are relying on you for that leadership. So yeah, we grew the team and moved on, and we sort of established a mini practice, is what we called, between the advisors and supporting them with their clients.
I hope you were financially rewarded each of these steps. And each of these...
Yes.
You were? Right, good.
Yes, but my question always first was, what's my new title?
What's my new title? Oh, wow, you were motivated by the title more. Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So title 2 is massively important. So am I going to see you as a CEO or CFO or COO?
Hopefully one day. That'll be the plan.
That motivates you?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Fantastic. Well, that's really good to hear. So let's just talk about building a team, right? You're a manager. You've now built a mini department, as you put it, right? Servicing team. What are you looking for when it comes to hiring people into your team? What type of things are you looking for? If you're looking at a power planner or administrator, or maybe regardless of the job title, what are the things you're looking for from that person?
Regardless, I'm looking for someone with something about them.
Right.
A bit of desire, a bit of, they might not have the qualifications, or they might not have 20 years of experience, but they're hungry and they want to learn and they want to take that time. That is what I'm looking for when I hire people.
So you're looking for attitude, mindset.
Yeah, massively.
Drive.
Because the process side, the technical knowledge, that can be taught. We can see that, in the exams, that's taught. But the right attitude cannot be. The attention to detail, that's something that's in someone. And that's what you're looking to identify.
I worry that there might be a lot of pressure on people to progress like you. Is that the case here at Foster Denovo?
No, definitely not. We have people who just want to come and do the administrator role. Like I'd said about my mentor, Jackie, she was looking to taper off, but she was the most valuable member of the team, because she had all that experience and she stayed there. And we've got other people who just said, you know what, that power planning terrifies me. I don't want to deal with compliance. I don't want to know any of that. I just want to be really good administrator. And there's those levels to do that as well. But there's also, you don't have to stay there. You can still take elements from different parts that you're good at. We're really good at identifying what is someone's strength and how do we use that.
Do you then, those types of people, I love the rock star, superstar analogy. Like, you know, there are superstars that you're a bit of a superstar. Someone keeps wanting to move forward and you're a superstar. Your rock stars are your solid rocks that are there and they're there. And that's cool as well. You know, maybe they don't want to progress. They just want to be recognized and rewarded for the work that they do in that role. You know, they're not seeking promotion or anything along those lines. And there's space. You need superstars and you need rock stars.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a balance.
Yeah,
you need that. Otherwise, if you've got superstars, there's no one there carrying the core and training those people up, like we've said.
And you need them in your team, don't you? You need those people in your team.
Definitely, they're really valuable. So, you know, you need the balance. It is a balancing act for identifying those.
What about things like qualifications though? Do you find it hard to get the team to actually take time out to spend time on their qualifications? You know, is it getting them to be qualified? Is it taking longer now? Are people more busy in their personal lives or?
Yeah, I think obviously during COVID, people could take a bit more opportunity to do that. There was less to do. So that definitely helped. But I think, you know, with the right mentorship from the right place, you know, people are keen and eager to do it, and it's compartmentalizing it. It's the next exam. Just look at that one. Don't look at being qualified. Look at the next one. Don't look at how many you've got left to do. Just put that down and work towards it. How do we get you there? What can we do to help?
Okay, so your journey doesn't stop there then, right? You've got into
a
manager position.
Yeah. So when we established the practice, I became a junior practice manager because I had no experience on the practice manager side, which is a bit more sort of MI focused. You know, you have a lot of client data. You're looking at the turnover. You're looking at the more business side of that, which was really interesting. Something I definitely hadn't done before. Again, had to lean on a lot of people to understand what that meant, my managers, but also other people managing practice. You know, we'd come together and sort of discuss that and get that across. So I started off in the junior role with not much experience at that level, and then moved to a practice manager once I'd got that experience level, got that under my belt, and was there.
Very interesting, because people listening to this will be like, hang on, practice, like it's Foster Denovo, that is the practice. So underneath Foster Denovo are like little mini practices almost, yeah? Yeah.
So we have sort of advisors that can sort of come together and set up a practice. So they have shared administration support, whether that's from the administrators themselves or paraplanners, you know, and they put those little practices together. We call them pods, but practice sounds a little bit nicer, pods a little bit. So that's what we established. And it just helps to, you know, keep it tight, keep it together. You know, we really learned about our clients. You know, we knew the 300, 400 clients we're servicing at that time, because you get to know them because you're dealing with them all the time rather than a central model. That's what we really move towards.
You've constantly been evolving. Do you ever kind of feel like you've evolved too quickly and you miss doing a specific aspect of the job all the time?
No, I don't, because it's always the next element that I'm always really interested in. And I've been able to not dictate that, but if there's a business need and I set where I want to go, you know, I can go, I want that bit. And I can say, well, you know what, actually, I think I need a bit more experience here. I need to stay here, do this a bit more, and then I can move on. So, you know, it's been quite flexible in that sense, is that I could drive the pace of it, and I've been able to do that.
Give us a bit more insight into the practice manager responsibility. So if someone's like sitting in a paraplanner role now and they're thinking like, I actually wouldn't mind being operational. I wouldn't mind understanding how the business runs and become a practice manager. Like, you know, that's a great progressive step. If someone's in a paraplanner role and they want to do something different, then maybe they could do that. I think those types of roles are going to open up more and more as well.
Yeah.
Just like the stark differences really, and the things that you kind of, that all of a sudden you thought weren't that, maybe didn't think took that much time, and actually turned out that they were massively important and big learning curves for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that role we said about with the managing expectations. On the client manager side, you know, practice manager side, you're doing that quite a lot. You're managing the expectations. You know, you're picking up the phone to that disgruntled client and having those conversations that I was terrified of having a few years ago. You know, I'm having those conversations with clients. I'm having those conversations with partners, and being that sounding board for the team, making sure we're all working together, you know, tasking in, sort of looking at cases, making sure we've got enough detail that we are in the right place and moving forward. And, you know, what our figures look like. Have we hit everything we need to? Have compliance got any outstanding requirements? Have we moved everything forward that we needed to there?
So starting to build deeper relationships with key stakeholders within the business as a whole, your understanding of the different areas of the business and how it all goes into the practice itself. Things like performance reviews, having to manage people, having uncomfortable conversations. Were these things that now you were having to do and they were your responsibility as well?
Yes, they were.
So somebody who perhaps doesn't like being face to face with people as much in, say, I don't know, like there's a client meeting and then there's performance reviews.
Yeah, definitely. I think from the performance review side is that I'd been on the other foot and I knew how they feel when they're not so great. Yeah. But also I knew what they did for me. Yeah. And I knew that they got me to where I needed to be. And sometimes it is having those difficult conversations with people so they better themselves. You know, that's the outcome you want, right? Is that someone turns around and goes, oh, you know what, actually, yeah, I do need to work on that. And I think I'd found that when I was a bit younger, quite difficult to identify those in myself. You know, what do I need to do? I'm like, well, no, I don't need to do that. You know, it could be quite hard to hear feedback. You know, I had one advisor who gave me feedback constantly and sometimes I didn't want to hear it, but it made me who I am by, you know, actually sitting back and taking it on board and going, oh, you know what? But I think as well, I learned that with age.
Maturity, accountability. You got to know yourself a little bit before you can start helping other people, I think, as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's part of the management training we give. You know, you do like a self-reflective assessment. You know, you look at how you learn. And then so you need to identify, well, how do I learn to learn it and so that I can pass it on to other people? How do they learn? Am I communicating correctly with them? Because that might be how I want to be communicated with. It doesn't mean that someone else is going to respond to it. And it's learning that people side.
Brilliant. It's good to hear that that type of training, is put into place because it's very quick to put people into management positions just on the basis of perhaps they're doing a good job. You know, I run a recruitment company. You'd have top recruiter billing away, doing really great things with clients, etc. And you think, well, they're great. So they could be a great manager and they could bring loads more people on. It kills them because they don't know how to manage. And all of a sudden they're having to deal with management whilst having to deal with trying to write business as well and do their day jobs. And God, I've learned the hard way on that one. Yeah. Lost a few really good people. And that's just naivety on my part, you know, and you look back on that now, I didn't ever do that again. There has to be a clear career framework and what goes alongside it is the development plan also that can evidence that they can do the job and that there's the right person there to mentor them, to train them and to show them the ropes in manageable bite-sized chunks. So it's good to hear that that is the case. Where are you now?
So after that, I actually had a role made for me on my skill set. So I am now private wealth process manager. Yep. So really heavily involved in documenting the processes because that's the side I really loved, whether that's through our client division or our investment section. So I document those processes, I improve them, I look to work with people to improve them and just making sure that we are moving forward and we're, again, evolving. And also involved in our acquisition side. So we are growing. We're on an amazing growth journey right now. And it's a really exciting time to be at Foster Denovo. So, you know, in that side, in sort of how do we apply what we do, bring people in who have been doing something completely different? How do we align? How do we move forward? And sort of from a project manager point of view, which I've never done before, managing those projects, getting that experience.
And again, training and support and development and guidance around all these type of new skill set that you've got. Because this role sounds like it's been created for you, is it?
Yeah, it has. And it's sort of been identified the parts that I have done well through my career. I now have been sort of picked out to do this role because I did this well and I did admin and also paraplanning, I did that bit. So, you know, it's put all those elements together. But there's been amazing support from leadership. You know, lots of people have different skills sets. You know, we all have bits that we do really well and bits that, you know, we get by and we do. And it's taking those people, you know, taking them out for a coffee, you know, learning from them. How can I do this part, you know, and how do you do this? That's what's been really important on that. But yeah, there's definitely at every section, there's been someone there to mentor me, to develop me, whether I've gone out looking for it or it's set there. We definitely have more of a clear framework now. And it is really important to have that clear track to run on, but it's not a set track. You know, you don't have to go this way. You can go off and go that way and you can come back. we really have that flexibility.
Yeah, I love that flexibility. Absolutely. So you don't, even if we went forward a little bit too quick, perhaps you might want to step back again to where you came from. I heard recently someone left the business and came back.
Yeah.
So that's a really good indication that, they always say don't eat meat, but it's like, actually in this case, come on back. What a great thing to do. If it's the right environment, because, you don't know until you know, right? And sometimes you've got to go away and have a look. And when you come back, happy days. Females within financial planning, there's a distinct lack of them. I think it's a distinct lack of females in financial services in general, and it's something that's changing. I think the numbers are going up.
Yeah.
What's your take on it, and the culture at Foster Denovo and the leadership team? Plenty of females?
Yes. We are quite, I think it is just, it's a theme at the minute, isn't it? Women in finance and, what is out there. You go out into the city, you get the train to bank, or you go to Leadenhall Market and you look around and there's a load of men in suits. And you come back in and we do have quite a few financial advisors who are male. We do have females as well. But you look at our leadership team and it is predominantly women.
Does that motivate you?
Massively.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does, because you see people in those roles that you can aspire to. But it's not even about gender. It's identifying yourself in someone else, isn't it? It's seeing that it's a lot easier when they're, a woman identifying another woman. But it's identifying those qualities and going, right, that's where I want to go. But yeah, we're massive on that sort of empowerment.
I think as well, you're a prime example of your career progression, how you've been supported on the way. Definitely a company that is fully inclusive and wants to promote women, men, everybody. At the end of the day, who wants to work within financial services and financial planning should have access to it. And I think it creates diversity, and it creates diversity amongst the client bank as well, and the types of people that you want to do business with. And it's really, really important. What I love also is financial planners might well be listening to this, and to hear your journey, the amount of energy and the effort that goes in to understanding every aspect of the job that you do, would give me a great deal of confidence if you were my practice manager, because I know that you can do, I know that you can do the job on every angle, on every front. I just want to know what's next for you. This is your current role, right? You're doing at the moment on the acquisition side. Is it acquisitions? Because it's a really exciting time for Foster Denovo. They've had huge investment. They're going out, I think 3 acquisitions in the last 3 months. Roger's all over the news.
Yeah.
You guys are getting out there. To me, over the last couple of years, it's developing into a completely different business, and it's exciting to see. So for you, what's next?
It's a really good question, because I think if you ask me at every point that we've just gone over, if you ask me what's next, would I have been able to identify it? Probably not. And did I expect where it went? Again, probably not. So for me, it's going along with the journey and seeing where it takes me.
Yeah.
I just find it really exciting that, I get to be a part of the journey.
Well, in a couple of months' time, you'll have a baby.
Yeah, so that will slow the process down. I'll have to stop for that.
Well, it slows the process down. It's part of life, isn't it?
Definitely. But I feel like I'm at a good place.
Yeah.
I feel really supported as well, and that I'll be coming back into my role. I feel assured that I'll be doing that. And I'll be back on my track and looking for the next place to run. As
a guy, we don't think about when we have children, whether or not it's going to affect our life. We kind of get a bit annoyed really that we don't, saying paternity leave has only really just sort of come in. It was like you have 2 weeks and see you later. Was there a point where you were worried, like having a child and a career it doesn't worry you? Because a lot of women, you can get worried about, like, if I have a child, it's going to affect my career. What is you're younger than I am. What's it like now? Do people worry as much, or is it just it's absolutely fine? Like, it's totally acceptable and no one.
Yeah, I think again, it's those leaders that you see around you. There's a lot of mothers in our management team that have gone on, they've done amazing things. They've had children, they come back and they've done even more amazing things.
Beautiful.
So you see it happening around you.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't worry me. I'm always excited for the fresh perspective that's going to bring.
Yeah. If I sounded a bit of an old fuddy-duddy then by saying that, it's just I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm just genuinely interested. It's things like mental health as well, well-being within the workplace. I think historically, no one really talked about work stress or depression or anxiety. And if you talked about it in the workplace, you were worried you'd lose your job. Whereas now, companies are spending time and investing in well-being for their employees.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's massively important because I think businesses have a duty of care to deliver that, and as employees we have accountability to ourselves to ensure that we are doing the right things around our mental fitness and taking those things that are put in front of us to hopefully better improve. But any kind of culture which becomes open and progressive is right in my eyes, and that's a part of, again, the lack of fear in wanting to say something or express something, because once it's out, you can move forward, can't you? And I think that works in the workplace. That's massive.
Yeah, that's definitely the culture we have is openness, and it is at the end of the day about the people. You do a job and you have a job title, but you're a person.
Yeah.
And that's massively, we have a lot of wellbeing schemes and things like that to support people through that process.
Well, Josie, listen, thank you so much for breaking down your career journey. I think it's going to be so interesting for those that are thinking about joining the financial planning profession and trying to understand and navigate all the different pathways they can go down. Because all you ever see is an advert for an admin power planner or a financial planner, but you've absolutely opened up a world of opportunities for others, and especially within Foster Denovo. Now, Helena told me that they are very much interested in junior people joining the business because of exactly this reason, that you can progress really quickly through the business, get the right support, the right training. You don't have to have experience to get into financial planning, right?
Completely. That's it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who want to get in and get stuck in.
Lovely.
And the opportunity is there.
Josie, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.